And a very happy Wednesday to you at 12:07 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, if we know one thing about California Governor Gavin Newsom, it's that he needs attention. He thrives on attention. So he knew he had to do something when he was booked on the Stephen Colbert Show the same night that Jimmy Kimmel was back on the air. So what did Gavin do to get attention? He worked blue.
There's sort of this weakness that dominates our brand and our party. And I think what people appreciate is that we're willing to fight, and not only fight symbolically by having a little bit fun, but fight substantively. We have 41 lawsuits against this son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch, huh?
He's throwing out the SOBs, and it only got dirtier from there.
And we're making sure that our own independent analysis provides a list of recommendations based on facts, based on science, not based on bull and fear.
BS, huh?
And he did it again.
No oversight, zero accountability happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic.
Okay. This is part of the reason that no one watches late night TV anymore. As a general rule, politicians make horrible guests. Why do they make horrible guests? Because they are trained by consultants to never say anything interesting. If you go on television and say something interesting, you're probably saying something a little spicy. And politicians exist to stay out of that lane. It's part of the reason that we book very few politicians on this program. We'll bring on analysts, we'll bring on experts, we'll occasionally bring on a politician, but only a handful of them. And typically, they're the ones that say interesting things because they don't care. But if you're a politician like Gavin Newsom, you live to not make headlines, or at least you live to not say anything that will ruffle some feathers. And they consistently, it's not just Gavin Newsom, but you look at the guest bookings of these late night shows, they book all of these politicians, or at least the Democratic ones, the governors, the senators, the presidential candidates, all of them go on those shows. And what's crazy to me is if you go back and you look at the golden era of late night TV, when Johnny Carson was there, or after that, when it was Letterman and Leno, they very rarely booked the politicians. Occasionally they would, but that wasn't typically what they did. Back then, they had this cadre of people, besides the A-list stars that would open up the movies or were starring in the television shows or whatever it was that was big at the time. They would have these people on who weren't necessarily A-listers, but they were always interesting and they always delivered. People like Richard Simmons, he lived on late night TV. Dom DeLuise. And, of course, the great Don Rickles. And you'd watch one of those shows, and Don Rickles would be sitting on that couch, and, oh, my God, that guy would kill the entire night. Kill. Same thing with Richard Simmons. You can't take your eyes off it. And now we've traded Richard Simmons for Gavin Newsom. And I don't know about you, Randy, but I'd take Richard Simmons over Gavin Newsom 10 times out of 10.
I think there's a lot of people that would agree with that statement.
And by the way, I take Richard Simmons as my governor over Gavin Newsom 10 times out of 10, too.
The only platform would be sweating to the oldies.
So that's what's going on late night TV. Now, in the city of Oakland, Oakland is following in the footsteps of Los Angeles, where in Los Angeles, when you take the MTA, for example, the goal is not to create safe buses and safe trains and safe subways. The goal is to create the appearance of safety. They don't want actual safety. They just want the appearance of safety, so you continue to buy tickets, and whether or not you get stabbed is a roll of the dice.
You may want to consider not using the metro.
In Oakland, what they're now looking for is the appearance of cleanliness, not actual cleanliness.
The city of Oakland does not pick up trash. There are illegal dumping sites all throughout the streets of Oakland that have garbage that has been sitting there for over a year. But what does the city of Oakland do? Through one of their aligned local Oakland newspapers, they stage a photo op of them picking up trash, and then they don't pick up the trash. For more on a very Oakland story, here is KPIX in the Bay.
For decades, the city of Oakland has struggled with a huge illegal dumping problem. People seemingly come from all over the Bay Area to dispose of their trash on the streets and sidewalks.
Why is Fremont so clean? We dump all our trash in Oakland.
Works for them.
In some cases, it sits there for months, even years. It's particularly bad at 71st Avenue and International Boulevard, about a mile from the Coliseum.
Everything near the Coliseum is hell.
Stay away. Stay far away.
Families often walk down 71st to get to one of the many schools nearby. The city has set up a citizen hotline.
Isn't also International Boulevard near all those schools where that prostitution homeless encampment is?
Those kids get quite an education.
The city has set up a citizen hotline to report dumping, but one East Oakland resident told our...
Wait, so they already have 311 and then they created another hotline for illegal dumping, but still no trash is getting picked up?
Again, it's the appearance of cleanliness, not actual cleanliness.
The city has set up a citizen hotline to report dumping, but one East Oakland resident told our John Ramus that in his neighborhood, it feels like it's all just for show.
It's not exactly breaking news that the city of Oakland has an illegal dumping problem, but that may be a problem in and of itself. The people who live in this neighborhood say this giant pile of trash has been here so long, they don't think the city is ever going to clean it up.
And they have reason to think that way.
People pull up, dump the trash, and as you can see, anybody that wants to use the sidewalk, it's impossible. It's eliminated.
There are no sidewalks in Oakland. Those are dumping grounds.
Well, again, if you have a small business, if you have a restaurant, and your restroom isn't ADA compliant, some ambulance chaser will come in and bankrupt you. However, if you're the city of Oakland and there is trash all over the sidewalk, so no one in a wheelchair or a walker can use the sidewalk, that's fine.
Ansel Troy lives a few blocks from 71st Avenue in Oakland, but he's become something of a crusader for the narrow one-way street.
So what happens is they just pile on to the trash that's already there. And I've been documenting this.
Can you imagine? You're just walking up and down the streets. Maybe you're taking your kid to school and you just see truck after truck after truck of people just throwing bags of trash out the side of the car.
Just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
For the entire month of...
I thought this was an environmental state. And why don't we seem to have any mechanism to go after littering?
Oh, yes. Well, we're extremely irritating and annoying if you're trying to buy a new car or trying to afford gas to put in your car. However, when it comes to dumping trash anywhere you please or fires that seem to be lit on a daily basis, we're willing to give everyone a pass on those.
For the entire month of September.
Ansel thought his social media post for the past month would embarrass City Hall into removing the mess.
Oh, Ansel, I don't think so.
What, are you new here?
But another neighbor named Steve says it's been here a lot longer than that.
This trash has been here for like almost 2 years, and I've been reporting it on the 311.
Wait, if it's been there for 2 years, you know who was supposed to clean up that trash?
Oh, that's our girl.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Shang, why didn't you pick up that trash?
The bureaucracy is real.
I understand.
Okay, I have a theory. I think 311 is a placebo to prevent people from calling the news. Because if you went straight to the news, they might be forced to do something about it. But if you call 311, nothing's going to happen, but you feel like you did your duty.
It's like complaining to human resources. Nothing actually happens, but you vented.
Pretty
This trash
much.
been here for like almost 2 years, and I've been reporting it on the 311. That doesn't help.
Oakland set up a citizen hotline, Oak 311.
So they have 311 and they also have Oak 311, and neither of them will pick up the garbage.
And to think, all of these people took the time to call 311, press 1 for English, and report this mess, and nothing happened.
Well, and you remember the story that we did a few weeks ago about the administrative mess in the city of Oakland, where if you complain to your local member of the city council, they cannot ask sanitation to do a cleanup. It has to go through the city administrator, Shang's buddy, Justin Johnson.
Absolutely.
And if he doesn't deem your cleanup necessary, it doesn't happen, which is why Noel Gallo has his own staffers picking up trash, and that's all they do now.
By the way, any organization that works pushes people to follow the chain of command. If you train people that the chain of command is useless, then you end up with complete chaos and no one doing what they're supposed to do.
Oakland set up a citizen hotline, Oak 311, to report such problems, and Ansel did that. And he got this response on Monday, closing his report, saying the matter had been addressed.
Wait, but they didn't clean it up.
No, but it's like what happens when you catch someone stealing shampoo from a Rite Aid. You give them a ticket to show up in court. They never do, but you check the box and you say, there was accountability. That's accountability to Gavin Newsom. That's accountability to George Gascon and the rest of them. From their point of view, they handled the situation and it's case closed.
And then that's a statistic that someone like Barbara Lee can use for re-election to see how many 311 requests we've fulfilled?
Quite frankly.
When they're just literally saying, yeah, we cleaned that up when they didn't.
And keep this in mind when they say the statistics show that crime is going down. The statistics show that we're doing a great job. It's the news that's sensationalizing everything. But if you just look at the numbers, there is great improvement going on. Their numbers are fake. They're cooking the books.
But, of course, the trash is still here.
Always trust John.
I guess I'm wondering, are they lying to me intentionally? Did somebody make a mistake? I don't see how you could miss all this.
But he's really disgusted by what happened on Friday. As part of a newspaper article touting the success of the county's anti-dumping efforts, a city crew was photographed removing debris from the corner of 71st and International Boulevard. But after the photo op was over, the crew left without touching the trash on 71st Ave, just 30 feet away.
I would love to know how much money the city is spending in that newspaper. I would love to know how much money the city-affiliated non-for-profits are spending on that newspaper. And I want you to keep in mind that right now in Sacramento, one of the things that Gavin and the Democrats are talking about doing to keep a quote-unquote free press and save democracy is spending money on the news media. Well, when the state gets involved with the news media and the news media becomes financially dependent on the state, you don't get independent reporting. You get stories that say they're cleaning up the trash when they aren't.
They did a photo op of city workers looking like they were picking up trash, and as soon as the cameras went away, they left all the trash there.
They want us to highlight the farmers market and the lake and the soccer games, but they don't want to really address this.
There are some homeless people living on the block, but they say they want it cleaned up as well, since they usually get the blame for it. One woman named Star said people...
Star, I don't think that's her real name.
Star?
If you're born with the name Star, it's like your parents are telling you you're going to end up on the pole.
There was a radio host in Los Angeles on KMPC when that was a talk station by the name of Star Parker.
Did she end up on the pole?
I don't think so. I think she ran for office.
One woman named Star said people arrive in trucks to unload the trash.
We clean up all the time, but they just come and put more garbage. And my other little friend, she homeless too. She be going cussing them out. No, y'all ain't gonna put that right there. And I be saying, calm down, calm down. We can't stop them people. But they do it even more and more.
Even the homeless are sick of all the garbage in Oakland.
Wouldn't you?
Ansel is fed up. He says it's absurd to think that this would be allowed to exist in any wealthier part of town.
We deserve our neighborhoods to be just as clean as any other area. And for a city that talks about equity, right, where is the equity when it comes to addressing this?
Well, the equity is they want the Oakland Hills to be as dirty as East Oakland.
Yeah, they don't want to make the entire city clean. They want to make the good parts of town bad, too.
Ansel believes allowing the pile of trash to linger sends a message that it's okay to dump here. And he thinks a lot of his neighbors have also been convinced that they don't deserve anything better.
No one from the city responded to our request for comment today.
I wonder why.
That is quite possibly the most Oakland of all of the Oakland stories that we've done recently.
That's right. I like that. That was amazing.
Oh, we miss you. 800-222-5222 is a telephone number. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Dave writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Guys, when discussing Gavin, just like Christopher Walken needed more cowbell, I need more Hagenberger.
Hagenberger.
Well, if you want to go back and you want to listen to the episode where we first heard Gavin Newsom utter that phrase during his podcast with Marshawn Lynch and that other guy, Randy, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can go to the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, search for The John Phillips Show, hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes.
Hagenberger.
You could do a Google on the YouTube, get the KABC app, get the KSFO app. There are so many different ways to listen to these radio stations and download all the podcasts.
We got Hagenberger problems, man.
In fact, make sure you listen to us because we'll play you the sound you need to hear from all these other podcasts that you definitely should never listen to.
Hey, you stay your ass off of Hagenberger.
That was Marshawn.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. And Randy, in a couple of days, you and I, we're going to Universal City.
We're going back to do Over the Edge for a Cause. We'll be doing a live broadcast at the Union Rescue Mission's big event to help people that are homeless. Every dollar raised is going to be matched up to $500,000. You can participate. You can sign up to rappel down the 25-story Universal Hilton. I did that last year, and it was an experience. You can donate to double your impact. Share with your friends and family. If you want to be a part of this event, go to urm.org/OTE, and Johnny and I will be doing a live broadcast there from noon to 3.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Well, the government is very good at punishing you when they don't want you doing something and rewarding you when you're doing something that they approve of. For example, home ownership is something that the government regards as a good thing, which is why you get the home mortgage deduction if you buy a house. They think having kids is a good thing. That's why you get the per-child tax credit for every baby that you pop out. And they also have the stick, not just the carrot. They don't want you drinking alcohol, so they tax alcohol. They don't want you smoking cigarettes, so the taxes on cigarettes are through the roof. They're called sin taxes. The government is very good at trying to cajole you into living a certain way, which is why it's so perplexing that Gavin Newsom is now out saying that of all the taxes in California that are too high, the one that he wants to slash immediately are the taxes on marijuana.
The pot tax, specifically the sales tax that was going to go up and up and up, is actually going to get cut because all the legal pot stores say they were going to go out of business because it's so easy to buy illegal weed and they can't compete.
So Gavin Newsom says he's a born-again tax cutter, at least on pot.
For more, here is KPIX in the Bay.
There might be a lot of preconceived notions about getting into the cannabis business.
Why does the evening news at KPIX sound like a club?
Well, maybe they're trying to appeal to that crowd.
There might be a lot of preconceived notions about getting into the cannabis business in California, but it probably isn't.
By the way, I give her a lot of credit. She could have said cannabis, and she didn't.
That's true.
It probably isn't whatever your college self imagined it would be. We have heard complaints from people in the industry who say they have been totally overshadowed by the black market. Gripes about high cost, lots of regulation. But some cannabis owners might be catching a break. Governor Gavin Newsom signed AB 564 this week, which prevents taxes on the cannabis industry from getting even higher. It sets the state's cannabis excise tax at 15% until 2028.
Wait, only 2 years?
You notice, by the way, that they're moving heaven and earth for the pot business because the pot business, they contribute heavily to state lawmakers. But you look at what the state is doing for all the people who lost their homes in the fire, and those people are just on their own. Look at what Gavin said when confronted about the fact that the $100 million that was raised by that non-for-profit that was supposed to go to fire victims, and we find out the money's going everywhere but to the fire victims. And he goes, well, that's not my jurisdiction. That's not my job. Don't ask me.
It was supposed to go up to 19%. Some cannabis store owners and advocates are now celebrating that. Amanda Harry talked with the dispensary owner about what the temporary reversal means for legally operating businesses.
Operator of Cannabis Buyers Club Berkeley, Andre Special, is feeling relieved.
Okay, that's not his real name.
No, and he's feeling relieved for a number of reasons, by the way, if that's the industry that he chose.
Andre Special.
Super thankful that the governor heard the message.
Special wants safe, tested, and regulated marijuana to be easy for everyone to access. That's why
Shouldn't it also be much harder to access the illegal, unregulated pot?
Oh, we can't crack down on them because then we're going to fill up the prisons.
It's not even hard to figure out where this stuff comes from. We're not even talking about street dealers anymore or Craigslist. It's all the smoke shops that say they're just selling tobacco. They're the ones that are selling the illegal pot.
I wonder how much those shops contribute to state lawmakers, because we know, for example, with the copper wire, the catalytic converters, other items that are stolen all the time, and then they're sold to legitimate businesses. No one seems to have any interest in shutting them down. And these are all businesses that rely on business licenses from the state of California. They seem to have some kind of special protection. Well, the same thing is going on here. And that doesn't happen randomly. There's got to be a reason.
That's why she's poured her heart and soul into CBCB. Both her children even work at the business.
It's a family pot store.
Can you imagine what Thanksgiving is like in that family?
Can of butter on that turducken. Something that Tom Likas ate for Thanksgiving once. A pot butter infused turducken.
Yeah, well, that's not the tryptophan that's going to be putting you to sleep then.
Food, fuel, fiber, fun, and medicine. And
look at that alliteration.
Food, fuel, fiber, fun, and medicine. And
how are you getting fiber? Are you eating the pot?
Yeah, that one doesn't make any sense to me.
It really is such an important plant that can do so many things to help. And, you know, once I started becoming an activist and I saw the people.
I do understand that pot has some medicinal benefits, and that has been shown to be the case. But the people that think it is the end-all, beat-all wellness drug, to use a phrase that the kids like to say, are a little delulu.
And I saw the people that really, their lives were changing with this plant. We have people that have been coming here since they were children with epilepsy.
It's existed since 1996. She's operated it since 2007. She knows the difference THC and CBD can make in people's lives.
Back in the days when she first operated it, everyone had to go in with one of those fake cards that said they all were suffering from insomnia.
Oh, yes, and every teenager had cataracts.
That's why consumers, advocacy groups, and operators...
You know how easy it was to get one of those cards?
Didn't the doctors advertise in the LA Weekly?
Yes. But there were also storefronts everywhere, including one that was across the street from the intersection near my old apartment in Valley Village. And you walk in, you say, I have insomnia. They take your picture, and you've got a pot license for the next year.
How is it that those medical doctors kept their licenses when they're advertising in the paper that they're willing to do whatever it takes to get you your drugs?
There's a lot of doctors that do that for a whole bunch of different kinds of things. That's just how the world works.
Yeah, but aren't they usually on the down low?
Not necessarily. I mean, they're legitimately giving you a prescription. It's like the doctor that I see that lets me have that form that says that my dog's a service animal. Don't harsh my vibe, buddy.
Well, and then the pictures that these doctors would put in the LA Weekly, they all look like hookers. I don't know what Caribbean island they were educated on, but it's really hard to believe they passed the state boards.
That's why consumers, advocacy groups, and operators were reaching out to Governor Gavin Newsom's office, saying a planned cannabis excise tax bump from 15% to 19% was too much. That's in addition to the state sales tax and a local tax.
Wait a second. So it was going to be 19% on top of the 10+% sales tax on top of whatever local taxes there are. No wonder no one wants to buy the legal stuff.
No, you're incentivizing the illegal market.
So as of July 1st, the tax in Berkeley was 34.25%. It's 30% tax.
30%. So I haven't bought pot in about 8 years, so my prices might be outdated. But you used to be able to get an eighth of some somewhat decent stuff for $50. That's now going to cost you $80.
Can the Indian reservation sell it? Is that legal?
I think you do anything on one of those reservations now.
Because they're the ones that have cornered the market on gasoline. You can buy gasoline over there without having to pay many of the taxes. You can buy cigarettes on Indian reservations without paying many of those taxes. Why not marijuana too?
Do tribal reservations sell marijuana? Yes, some tribal reservations in California sell marijuana, but it depends on the specific tribe's laws and regulations. I know you can smoke cigarettes at Morongo. Can you smoke a joint?
Well, there you have it. It's 30% tax, and we're going in the right direction. It's very difficult for us to compete.
This week, the governor announced the tax bump would be pushed back. Special says the slight break will help them compete with the illegal businesses that bill themselves as hemp or smoke shops.
And why, if we, it's so funny because the whole argument back in 2016 when this was on the ballot is, well, the only way to kill the black market is to legalize and regulate the product. Well, we legalized and regulated the product, but we overregulated it and made it too expensive. And then we did not get rid of the black market. In fact, some studies show that it's higher now in California than before we legalized pot.
No, this is the only way Sacramento knows how to do business. And while they may be very sympathetic to all the potheads out there, the public employee unions are who they really care about. And they're going to take care of that group before they take care of the potheads.
Consumers can't really tell the difference between our shop and their shop, yet there's no taxes, there's no testing. They're not really sure exactly what product you might leave the store with.
She says it can be dangerous. But
so funny, much like airline purchases, people only really shop on price. Oh, I've tested this. We know exactly what kind of pot is this. We know what farm it came from. I don't care which one's under 40.
Nobody cares.
Who's got the $5 joints? Again, my prices might be outdated. I haven't bought pot in 8 years.
She says it can be dangerous, but with increasing prices at legal shops, people are overwhelmingly moving in that direction, leaving her business with fewer customers.
The fact that sales revenue is going down across the state when there's more users than ever. So that's showing that they're leaving the licensed market to go to where they're paying less or no taxes.
Special is grateful the tax increase is delayed until 2028, but says the taxes are still too high to already compete with the illegal market.
Yeah, they're still not able to compete, but at least this isn't going to put them totally out of business until 2 years from now.
Gavin Newsom should be aware of this. He was a guy who used to own Plumpjack, or I think he still does, maybe. I don't know.
It's in a trust.
Okay. So he sold wine for a living before he became a politician. He, in theory, should know how this works. But for whatever reason, the moment these guys get into elected office, they just start drinking the Kool-Aid. All of them.
Well, and do you know where a lot of that excise tax money for pot goes?
Don't tell me the bullet train.
Worse. Public health departments.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of it's funding harm reduction. Here's another fun one. You know how big attorney generals like Bonta will make those statements that we made a massive settlement with the opioid manufacturers and we got billions and billions of dollars for California? You know where that money goes, John?
Probably to Barbara Ferrer, too.
For harm reduction programs.
Next slide.
Oh, good Lord.
She believes people are willing to pay a tax to get a tested and reliable product.
Well, no, apparently you just said they're not.
Yeah, they're putting you out of business.
They don't care if it's dirt weed that's stepped on with who knows what.
But only within reason.
The fact that sales revenue is going down across the state when there's more users than ever. So that's showing that they're leaving the licensed market to go to where they're paying less or no taxes.
And there's also tons of illegal grow operations all throughout the state. And I don't know why we can't crack down on those on top of everything else. They use a hell of a lot of water to grow this stuff.
Well, and think about this. Think about what's going on right now in the Tenderloin, where you have all of the stolen merchandise from places like Rite Aid and Target that's being sold for a lot less than what you would pay at a legitimate store. How do you compete with the stolen outdoor flea market if you're Rite Aid? The answer is you don't. And that's part of the reason why so many of the Rite Aids are going out of business. There are people in the restaurant industry who have people outside their establishment selling tamales, selling hot dogs, selling food illegally without having a license from the state of California, without having to get approval from the public health department, right outside your business where you're paying taxes, you're paying through the nose, and then you have someone that's operating without any of these licenses, without following any of those rules, right in front of your establishment, and no one does anything about it.
Sherman Way and Haskell next to the 405 freeway. You go there on a weekend, and someone on the side of the road is selling menudo. Good luck.
Okay, so you just heard them talking a lot about supporting the legal market, and it clearly does need help. The state's own data shows that less than half of all the cannabis that was consumed in California last year was sold legally.
That is an indictment of the failure of this state. You got the public on your side to vote and legalize this product, and half of the population is still buying it illegally.
I'm telling you, of all of the votes that I've cast, that is the one I regret the most, voting to legalize marijuana.
So to give you an idea of how much money the state of California pulls in from the cannabis excise tax, it says it got almost $150 million of revenue during the second quarter of 2025. The state uses that money for child care programs and medical research, among other things.
Well, there you have it. the pot industry is not doing so hot here in the state of California. The politicians in Sacramento are hell-bent on killing all industries, even ones they claim to like. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Nicholas writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Wait, so they're taxing the potheads so they can give the crackheads and heroin addicts free pipes and needles, and they call that harm reduction? That's as California as it gets.
Let's go to Sheila in Northern California. Sheila, hello.
Hello. In my area, the cannabis industry did not pay the county what was expected at legalization. And I happen to know that the sheriff's department found a big shot grower in each area who collects hush money. If you don't pay, the helicopters land. Now the county can't seem to figure it out, but all they'd have to do is to fly over with a map and see who did and didn't pay and handle it that way. But they somehow haven't figured it out. But I often wonder how widespread this system is across California. It's pretty simple system. The mob used to use it, right?
Well, yeah, I wonder how many operations are part legal, part illegal, where they have the business license so they can explain away the crops that they're growing, but they're also selling it on the DL that's not in their shop that's licensed by the state. All right. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. We've got 2 more hours coming up on the John Phillips Show. The Fix California hour is next. Don't you go anywhere.